The following program is an original MCM production for Community Channel 14.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kingery, registered dietitian and culinary educator for the Fondy Farmers Market in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm here today to show you how to preserve greens. And I'm going to show you kale because kale is one of my favorite greens. And the greens come into season pretty much starting in July, and they're going to go all the way through until the end of the season, which for us is November. So the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So what I like to do is at the end of the season, like in November, I buy as many greens as I can, and I preserve them. And the reason I wait that late is because, well, one, I'm very busy during the summer, and two, greens tend to taste a lot sweeter when the weather is cool. So wait till fall to start preserving your greens, and just eat fresh until then. So what I have here is the kale, and it's got a lot of dirt on it. So if we're going to preserve these, we're going to have to clean them first. And so what I like to do before I even wash them is I like to take off this stalk right here, because that is inedible, and so you don't even want to, you can't even eat it. So I just use my hands. Some people like to cut. I like to simply pull. And then this, you just throw it away, and this you're going to keep. And so I'm going to do this. I have 2 pounds of kale here, and I'm going to do this to all 2 pounds. For kale, we'll do that. I just want to show another little thing too. This is kale that you can find at the farmer's market too. And this is decorative kale, and when they were selling it, I thought, why is anyone going to give me decorative kale? You know what? You can eat it. So, and I have, and it tastes the same. And you know what's nice about it? It's got these pretty little purple things in there, so it looks really nice. So for this one, we're going to just do, for the freezing of the greens, we're going to just do this kale. So what I have to do is I have to take it over to my sink. And this is how I do it. And this is how you clean any green. Every single green that you buy at the Fondy Farmers Market, and I think there are like, what, 20 varieties? This is how you clean it. Now you'll be surprised that Fondy greens compared to grocery store greens or other greens are really quite clean, because our farmers really like to wash their greens and make a lovely presentation. But this is how you're going to clean it. All right, so there we got a nice water bath. It's deep enough that the greens or the sand can sink down. And I just start picking them up, and there we go. They don't have to be perfectly dry. They don't have to be dry at all. They can have water on them because we're going to be putting them in a big pot of boiling water. So what's the difference, right? So I put them in the big bowl so I can transfer it over to the stove. All right, here they are. Now what I said before is that I have in here two pounds of greens. And I specifically know that and measured them because I want to preserve them in a way so that after I've blanched them, I'll know what the size is of these greens. I'll know, oh, this was 2 pounds originally, or this was 1 pound originally. So I'll show you how that all works. But for now, we got our pot of boiling water, and we've got our big bowl that we're going to fill with ice cubes, and then I'm going to put some cold water in it too. Okay, and I've created a cold water bath. And so I put the cold water bath next to the pot, which is going to be boiling. It's not quite boiling yet, but it's going to be boiling soon. Right next to that, so that I can easily transfer the greens. You want to make sure when you cook greens, especially hearty greens like this, when you're blanching them, that you have a very, very big pot. You want at least 5 quarts in there, and you only want to blanch 1 pound at a time. And the reason for that is, while kale is not one of them, many of the hearty greens are, like mustards, they have a lot of acid in them. And if you do not have enough water in there, you cannot steam blanch them. The acid will stay in there. But with a lot of water in there, it's going to pull that acid away, and it's going to make it taste better, much better. And so you want to make sure it has enough room that it gets in there, it cooks well, and all the acid that's in the green comes out. So here we are, the pot's at a rolling boil. And what we're going to do is I have 2 pounds in here. As I said, you really want to just do a pound at a time. So I'm going to put about half in. Ooh, there, I lost a guy. Doo-doo-doo. You don't want to do much more than that or they won't cook. And then I take my slotted spoon, which I bought this at like a restaurant supply store. It's awesome for blanching and preserving things. And woo, it turned a nice bright green. It's beautiful. And start timing immediately. Doesn't matter if it's not boiling now, and it's not going to. And you want to boil for 3 minutes. It's really nice if you have a timer like this. If you don't, you just watch the clock. That's fine too. All right. There we go. All right, there we are. It's 3 minutes exactly. And I'm stopping them. I've got more that I want to do, so I'm not going to turn off the heat. I'm just going to retrieve the guys. And I just do that, and I've got this nice ice water bath, and I'm shocking them. Just put them right in there. Ooh, be careful. So I'm going to put that in the sink some more and fill it up with more cold water. And I can feel the greens. They're cooling off. I can feel that. Just make sure they're all submerged. And so these are nice and cool. They're in my cool water bath. And what I have here is another colander, a strainer. I have a little bowl underneath it to catch any water. So I'm going to take these and I'm just going to kind of wring them out like washcloths. I'm just going to put that in. I'm trying to get as much water out of there as possible. Do that to all of them. The water turned all bright yellowy green. I can get rid of that. I don't need that for now. Okay. And then I have my little basket of greens here. And I squeezed out a lot of water, but I didn't squeeze out all of the water. And so this is a pound, so it shrunk down considerably. You know, it was that big, huge bowl I had, but now it's down to this. This is a pound of greens. And I know that because I measured it. And what I like to do, this is my little secret technique, is I get cling wrap, plastic wrap, whatever, and I do little proportions. So I do them in half-pound proportions so that I know when I'm getting my greens out of the freezer how much I have. So a recipe will call for, you need a half pound of greens, or you need a pound of greens, or you need a pound and a half of greens. That's the reason I do it in the half-pound increments. So I take out some plastic wrap and I divide this. I know it's a pound, so I'm going to do these each in a half pound, and I'm going to squeeze, 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 and make them into like a little, almost like a patty of greens. There we go. There's one. A lot of water comes out of there. The more water you get out, the better, because the water is just going to form ice crystals in there, and you don't want that. And you notice that I didn't chop up the greens because honestly, we don't know what the recipe is going to call for, but most likely it'll be chopped up. But really, when you pull them out of the freezer and you have them like partially defrosted, they chop up. It's so easy to manage these greens and chop them. I just chop them on a little patty, and now they're all chopped up. So it saves me an awful lot of work. Here. Okay, there one. Are they all about the same size? Here's the last one. water out of there. This guy's a little skimpy. I'll give some more from him over here. Okay. So here's my little half-pound kale patty of greens, and I take them and I put them in the saran wrap, and I just put them like that, and I wrap it up like that, and I try to squeeze as much air out of there too as possible. Now I'm gonna put that aside. Okay, now I got 4 beautiful little half-pound kale patties. Can you believe how small that is? And then what I do is I take a freezer bag, and I'm gonna do a lot of kale this year, so I'll probably put it in a big one, or you can put it in a smaller one too. When you buy these, you want to make sure that it says freezer. See, it says freezer, not storage. No storage. Storage is not thick enough. You want a nice thick plastic bag so it'll protect it. So I also want to make another suggestion about these. Now, I'm not promoting any one brand in particular, but you know those ones that go back and forth with that little locky thing, you know, and those are great for when you travel and you need to put all your stuff in a little quart Ziploc bag according to the airline, right, for Homeland Security. So don't get those for these because they don't seal all the way, and so it lets in air. So you don't want, a lot of funky smells go on in the freezer sometimes, and you really want to protect yours as much as possible. So stick them in a freezer bag that has just one of these old-fashioned kind of zips. Also, don't use the store brand one because they're really thin. So don't use whatever big box store you go to. Don't use their off-brand. I sometimes buy off-brands for other things, but not for these bags. I also use these over and over again. So if they hold up, I'll keep using them. And I might add more kale here too. So you're going to add this in here. Squeeze out as much air as possible. Might want to do this. Okay. Out it goes. And then you can label it. These are nice because they got these little things for you to write on, but then I can't use it again. So I've got this really glamorous method in which I bought some masking tape, actually the blue kind. I don't know, it looked so much more festive than the plain manila kind. And then I label it there, and I write kale. And then it should be November because that's when I usually do this, but it's really August. So August, I think today's the 21st. It's ballpark, and I put the date. And now I know. And now, again, what you can do when you freeze things, you can stick it in the freezer or in the refrigerator first so that the cooling process is a little bit slower. Or if you don't have any time, you can throw it right in the freezer. And that is how you preserve greens for the season, and you can eat them all year round, and they're so much better than buying fresh in some ways because you've already done all that cleaning, washing, processing, and you can just pull them out. And I like to use these a lot in like beans and greens, which I'm going to show you how to make later. And I use them in soups, and sometimes I just make a little pot of greens, and there they are. So thank you for watching me on Taste the Season, and today it was really Preserve the Season because we showed you how to make preserved greens. And come and shop at the Fondy Farmers Market. We're open May through November when we have the freshest, best tasting, locally grown seasonal vegetables in all Southeast Wisconsin here in Milwaukee. Thank you.
This has been an MCM Productions program.